Stepping from our ordinary world into the fantastical, Immersive XP explores the weird and wonderful imaginations behind a diverse range of themed experiences. From virtual reality to escape rooms to live-action roleplay, nothing is off the table. We'll take a deep dive into what makes these adventures worth attending and which ones to avoid. Join me on a journey to explore the extraordinary and meet the people who make dreams a reality. Welcome back to another episode of Immersive XP. I'm Taylor Forge, your non-binary host based in Southern California, seamstress by trade, silly little guy by trauma. Favorite Dungeons & Dragons class? Sorcerer. Fun fact of the week. While the most common tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Shadowrun, and more have taken the world by storm, many of the first tabletop games created in the 1800s more closely resemble games like Warhammer 40k. Strategos, written by Charles Totten, paved the way for war games starting in 1880 with a full manual on how to play this little battle game. The game included rules for maps, moves, powers, game pieces, and when to use plenty of dice. The game called for 96 pieces, made of wood to represent ranked military and various geographical locations. Depending on how advanced a game or more historically accurate people wanted to play, you could have a very different gridded map to simulate skirmishes. The goal of the game was to study the principle of strategy and grand tactics, with your military pieces against the opposing player. While still considered a game, the intention was to practice the science of war, especially when real military drills were not possible in cold weather conditions. Looking over the nearly 200-page rulebook myself, it's interesting to spot some of the rules similar to TTRPGs. For example, a single combat turn in Dungeons & Dragons is considered to take place within 6 seconds of in-game time, while in Strategos, a combat turn is considered 5 minutes of in-game time. Luckily, we've come a long way in creating more immersive and thrilling games for the average person, but we have many early tabletop rulebooks to thank for their innovative lessons in modern game creation. This week's episode is a gimmick quest, which is any experience using pre-existing intellectual property to get people in the door. With the success of multiple Dungeons & Dragons actual play shows comes a more interactive experience. The 20-Sided Tavern allows you, the audience, to have a say in an adventure set within the Forgotten Realms D&D universe. I attended toward the end of the US tour with many of my LARP friends, all dressed up as I'd hope you'd expect by now. What is the 20-Sided Tavern? As they describe it, where laughter flows like ale and the story is in your control. Embark on a journey of a lifetime that might involve dungeons and might involve dragons. Or as I'll describe it, an improvisational live show where the performers include the audience in on an adventure. With the help of visual and audio storytelling, viewers get a one-of-a-kind tale determined by a roll of dice and audience votes. 1 or 2 dungeon masters introduce the beginning of a quest and the delightful cast who plays the heroes for the adventure. Our dungeon masters for my evening were Alex Stumfali and Diego Salinas. Having a duo meant they could both easily play the game master behind the table or transform into an NPC, such as a shopkeeper, for example, to physically interact with the heroes. Our heroes from the usual rotating cast were Cassidy Sledge and RJ Christian. One of the unique things about the 20-Sided Tavern is its use of special guests who are famous within the video game or tabletop gaming world, to also step in as a hero. The week I attended, Neil Newbon, known for his role as Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3, took the stage. With the cast introduced and some basic Dungeons & Dragons rules explained, it's time for fantasy characters to be selected. When entering the theater, QR codes are available for the audience to scan and to be put into 3 teams: blue, green, and red. Each color corresponds to a hero that you will make decisions for. Our show was holiday-themed, so 3 Christmas characters were presented as an option for the audience to vote on. After audience voting concluded, we ended up with RJ playing a birdfolk paladin, Cassidy as a roguish bard, and Neil as a lizard folk doctor. With a quick costume change, it's time to begin the adventure. I will not give too much away about the story itself, as some things do repeat from show to show, but to summarize, the heroes need to collect some things and bring those things to a place to defeat a big bad guy. How successful this mission is depends on the rolls of dice and audience participation. When it comes to rolling, each hero has a small table with an overhead camera to roll a d20 underneath. It is seamlessly projected onto the large screen so the audience can see the dice's number. Ideally, the heroes roll big, but very often during my show, they rolled a 1. An additional visual gag is that each time someone rolls a 20, they get to wear a silly hat, and every time they roll a 1, they have to wear a very different silly hat. Aside from voting, audience members may be pulled up on stage for a minigame to help aid the heroes. I went on stage to play a giant Jenga while wearing oven mitts. With my excellent performance, the roguish bard got an advantage later on in the story. One additional surprise at the end of the show was another special guest, who played the villain. Angela from Smosh played Father Christmas and was set on destroying the heroes. While not everyone survived the quest, the show ended with joyous applause and the promise of many more adventures to come. Things I liked. The visual storytelling and tech used in the theater was so smooth and seamless that I'm shocked I've never seen anything like it for other D&D themed performances. The Dungeon Master instantly created polls for the audience to vote on, and every sound or lighting cue was instant. They paid incredible artists to create scenery, character art, and special effects to be projected onto the screens to help immerse the viewers into the adventure. Both the regular cast and special guests are incredibly funny and knowledgeable. I loved seeing the in-character banter they made between scenes and how they played the game. I also appreciated the array of accessories and wigs that the Game Master had behind their table so you could easily see which NPC they were playing. The audience participation added another level to the viewing experience, so you feel invited to be part of the adventure. It kept everyone engaged and excited when their hero succeeded. Since a lot of the show is improvisational, voted on by the audience, and has a rotating cast, you can expect a different show each night. While some of the main story may be similar, the experience itself can be done multiple times. I'd love to go again if given the opportunity. Things I didn't like. Our particular adventure included collecting multiple objects in order to complete a ritual. With the limited time of 2.5 hours, including intermission, it felt like too much packed into the story. The Dungeon Master had to speak really fast to keep things moving, so my understanding of the quest got muddled. It also meant that my favorite part, the heroes bantering between scenes, were cut short consistently. Cutting out one object retrieval might have allowed for more improv between the cast and made things easier to follow. As for accessibility, Sided Tavern has a lot of visual and audio effects that may be overstimulating for some. Lightly tinted sunglasses or earplugs may be best for those with processing difficulties. The shows use multiple theaters depending on which location they're performing at, so I highly recommend looking at the theater's website and reviews to determine its accessibility. The 20-Sided Tavern does not have individual information about each theater on the website. The Los Angeles show that I attended was performed at the Montalban Theater and did not have an elevator, and the parking, as expected, was awful. As for the audience, the website suggests the age range being 8 to 80 years old and that you do not need to have Dungeons & Dragons knowledge in order to enjoy the show. While the show is clean for kids, many of the jokes and references might be for an older crowd. I personally feel that teenagers and older will love the experience. For theaters that have a bar, D&D themed drinks are available for purchase, so 21 and older may choose to imbibe. As a longtime D&D enjoyer and viewer, some of the story was already lost on me due to how fast some of the people talked. It helps to have some tabletop gaming knowledge so you understand why people are excited about math rocks. But visually, it is still fun and the energy is thrilling. This might be a great way to get someone involved in tabletop role-playing games for their first time, or to inspire a veteran player to begin a new tale. The price varies from theater to theater, but on average, people pay $39 to $160 depending on how close the seats are to the stage. Ordering group tickets will allow you to get the best price, and sometimes there are special discounts around holidays. My friends and I had decent seats for $45 a person, and I absolutely believe the price is more than worth it for the experience and incredible performers. If you want a higher chance to be brought up on stage, consider putting in extra money to be closer to the front. At time of recording, their US tour has closed. The dates and locations for their future performances are to be determined. Overall, if you long for an adventure filled with your favorite character archetypes, betrayal, and maybe a bit of romance, the 20 Sided Tavern should be your next ticket purchase. They've announced that they are figuring out ways to make the show bigger and better while expanding to a wider audience in the near future. Until next time, the call to adventure summons heroes, and your last missed call could be a villain. Check out our website, immersivexps.com, to join our free Ko-fi, which will have visuals and additional content of the immersive experiences discussed in each episode. You are an immersive experience artist or creator, no matter how small. Consider contacting us so you can take part on a future podcast. This podcast is recorded and produced by SoCal Podcast Studio in Orange County. Thanks for listening.